You're listening to the Fast Intentions Podcast. Now here are your hosts, Nathan and Todd.
Welcome into Fast Intentions. It's game week here. Nebraska plays Thursday night as we record this podcast early in the week. I get kind of excited. The weather kind of turned, got a little chill in the air, and felt like fall Nebraska football weather on Saturday. Are you excited, Nathan?
Sure, I'm absolutely excited. I would be more excited if I didn't have to work. I closed that night. So I probably won't get to watch much of the game, but I'll gladly go on my DVR when I get home and probably catch it. Unless it's like a bad game, and then maybe I won't.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see what's in store for the Big Red this year. And obviously we'll delve into that game and some NFL a little bit later in the podcast. But we spent quite a bit of time together yesterday as we had a couple fantasy drafts. How are you feeling about your team and your picks? I know we were just kind of talking about it a little bit off air that, you always talk about the guys that you didn't get, but what about the guys you did get?
I don't know. I always feel pretty confident, but then I feel like every time it's when because you'll insert the OAQL one, which is the name of our league, in one of them, and they'll like show up as they go, and then when you usually do that, I look and I go, man, my team's not as good as I thought they were. It's usually what happens. And then the first week I'll do like good or bad, and I'll be like, man, this is going to be awesome. And then you go through ups and downs. So, but on draft paper on the draft board, however you want to say it, the stickers, it looked pretty good.
How about just on regular paper?
Well, I got notebook paper, and it's not regular paper. But overall, I feel pretty good. Maybe the only thing I was kind of regretting was on the second. So in the one league, we have to take one of each position before we can draft a free-for-all, which I think is a kind of a dumb rule, but
you say it every time.
And I never suggest it either because it's just kind of how it is. But so I got a Tyreek Hill on the way down, and then because Kelsey was gone, I took Mark Andrews when I could have taken a running back because the main guys like McCaffrey, Eckler, Bijan, and Barkley, and I think someone else was gone too. And so those were kind of the main guys. And so I'm like, well, I can get another running back on the way back. And I was kind of like, well, maybe I should have done that. Because Mark Andrews, he's a good tight end. But there were some other decent tight ends afterwards I probably could have gotten if I'd waited.
Yeah, I was able to nab Waller in I think it was the fourth round, and that was because I had already taken my quarterback, running back, and receiver. So I was really happy to get him. He was kind of my last one in that little upper crust. I mean, Kelsey's kind of by himself, but then that next group of three are kind of together. Yeah. I kind of like Waller in that group.
Well, and I was picking ninth, so I was near the back end. And in this league, quarterbacks are worth 6 points for a touchdown, not 4. So, of course, the quarterbacks are super, super valuable because they're going to be the ones scoring the most. So my first 3 picks were Mahomes, Hurts, and Allen. So I knew I was going to get a top-tier quarterback. So I'm usually okay with letting that slide. But now I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't let the running back slide so much. But then I ended up getting Ramondre Stevenson as the 12th running back, so yeah, I felt pretty good about that. Value, yeah. And now I was thinking between him and Najee Harris. Jonathan Taylor fell into the free-for-all area just because his whole
contract
thing was kind of. And I had Hill and Tua. I think the Dolphins talked about maybe trading for him, and that's the last thing I need, the whole entire offense. But then I ended up getting Najee Harris because I was thinking of him or Stevenson, and then he ended up being there, so it kind of worked out.
Yeah, I kind of ended up in that boat. In the other league, I had Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then I grabbed that Jahir Gibbs later, and then I took Goff later, and I really liked the other running back for Detroit,
David Montgomery.
Yeah, excuse me, I was going to cough, but I didn't. But I thought, well, I already had those 3 other guys. I can't take him too. But
that's why I took Dameon Pierce in that league. And I'm like, well, I can get Dalton Schultz as a tight end. But I go, well, if they're like goal line guys, I don't want to have them fighting against each other. Oh, they give it to Pierce, but then they won't give it to Schultz. So
yeah, and then every year it seems like there's one guy that seems like they take more of the guys you want than anybody else. And this year it was Steve. He took 4 guys I was hoping to get. But I was picking second, and he was picking 5th, so he was a few picks ahead of me every other round. So. But with that rule, you got to kind of prioritize value for certain guys, and like the other league that are the work league I have that Nathan's a part of, that's just a free for all from the beginning, and so it's a little more, of course it's open ended, and guys just will go for 2 running backs or a good quarterback and a running back, or one guy, he took 3 receivers right off the bat. And
You're all really good.
so,
too.
yeah, in that league, I just look for value just because of the way that it's set up. I just try to find value in my picks that, based on where I'm at and who's gone ahead of me. But, that's a fun league. Everybody in there's pretty good drafters, so that's always real competitive. And it's fun to get together with those guys and shoot the shit and just hang out or whatever. But
because in that league, he got Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and Calvin Ridley.
Mhm.
This is like 3 receivers.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
But hey, shout out to me. I called it last episode. If you're listening, that Bijan Robinson would be a type of guy Jerry McDonald drafted, and Jerry sat next to me at the draft, and his first pick was Bijan Robinson. So, and I pointed at Nathan, and I kind of laughed, and I tapped Jerry. I said I predicted you were going to take that guy. He's like, "Oh yeah." And I said, "Yeah, it just seemed like the kind of guy that you would go after." So
He said, "Is that a good thing?" We said yes.
I said yes. So. Did you get any feedback on the Statue of Liberty? Does it or doesn't it?
No, nobody messaged me about it.
Oh,
My phone's about to die.
Uh-oh. I heard back from Vern, and he told me he was going to look into it. So next day I said, "Well," I forgot. And so I asked him the next day, "Well," I didn't get time. So the next day, "Well," I didn't get around to it, but I'll do it tomorrow. So I saw him the next night, like, Vern, he's like, "I agree with you. She does look like Elvis." So I guess it's 1-0 on comments whether or not Statue of Liberty looks like Elvis.
Well, it's 2-1.
So
Our opinions count.
well, you're still losing.
Okay.
I didn't see anything on the Twitter come across the Twitter page, so that's still a very inactive social media for us. So
Well, it's okay. Our listener account's very
But,
inactive. We need to get that up.
well, yeah, we need to get that up. But yeah, feel free to go out there, F Intentions Pod on Twitter or on the X as it is now, and comments or criticisms or questions, whatever you like.
I'm never
feel
gonna
free to hit that up.
I'm never gonna get used to calling it X.
Yeah,
It's so dumb.
me neither. Well, let's delve into it, Nathan. This is episode 24, so we have to figure out who we're going to name this podcast after. It's going to be football and somebody. So, who are our contestants this week for the number 24?
Well, let's get it before my phone dies.
Let's do that.
I didn't even think about my phone dying.
Hmm.
Number 1. Can you guess who it is?
Probably Kobe.
Yes, Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
Which is funny because I didn't think about it until I looked on here. I go, oh yeah, Kobe.
Hmm.
Willie Mays is number 2.
Very good.
Number 3. Any guesses? Ken Griffey Jr.
Ah, the kid. Yes.
I don't know if you would just came up with them. Moses Malone's number 4.
Oh, like the song.
Charles Woodson with the Raiders is 24.
Just made it the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. There's Ricky Henderson in the Mets uniform. He's 24. Looks like he's like a coach or something.
Yeah.
Miguel Cabrera
me.
was 24
He's
for
retiring. Oh, did
Detroit.
You see that little snippet of him yesterday with Verlander?
No, that was Verlander.
Or not was it Verlander? Yeah, they were going to face off or something, and they tipped a cap to each other because they knew it might be the final time they ever face each other.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you see when he was with Jose Ramirez and he pretended to fight him?
No.
We never did talk about that fight.
Mm-mm.
When Jose Ramirez punched Tim Anderson in the face.
Probably deserved it.
You didn't see that clip?
Yeah, I did. Knocked him out.
No, because it's funny because Tim Anderson threw his glove right away and squared up and it dunk,
Yeah.
and he fell down.
If,
And a lot of the podcast
for those of you who aren't watching online, Nathan kind of feigned like he was knocked out.
yeah. But
Is that it for the 24th before your phone dies?
yeah, I think there's not a whole lot more. Lou Brock was next, but
Lou Brock was actually 20.
he was probably worried for some other thing, which is why he's on there. But that's okay. We don't need to go anymore. But Tim Anderson is kind of part of the origin of this podcast
He is.
about how we disagree about his cell brain.
He
But
is.
now he just got knocked out, so maybe I was in the wrong.
So, what's your vote for the 24 of the 4 or 5 options you gave us?
Probably Kobe.
You think Kobe?
I think
In memoriam?
in memoriam, and I think he's at a higher peak in his sport than like Ken Griffey Jr. Well, I guess Willie Mays is pretty damn good too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Willie Mays and Ken Griffey Jr. are very elite, and Miguel Cabrera, not so much now towards the end of his career, but several years ago, he was like the top hitter, if not in the American League, at least in baseball.
Well, he's probably top 30 player all the time.
So,
And so I guess Willie Mays a top 5 player. Kobe Bryant's a top 10 player. So, but who's like a bigger media star? Probably Kobe, right? Because he's more in the newer
just
age.
because social media was more active now than it was. Well, especially when Willie Mays was
playing.
But
Yeah,
especially even Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
And Miguel Cabrera is just catching it on the tail end nowadays. But yeah.
Well, baseball's not really good too with like promoting stars. Like they kind of do it with Ohtani now, but like that's just because he's so world now.
He's a
like,
worldwide name.
Even when Mike Trout was like the face of the league, no one's like going around like, man, that Mike Trout guy is like, he's a beast. Because people compare followers. Like LeBron has like hundreds of millions, and then Mike Trout has like 1.5 million followers, which is still a lot, but like in comparison to like icons and stars, baseball doesn't do a good job promoting it as well. It's kind of like in their baseball niche.
Yeah.
And they're stickler for rules and we can't change the game and blah, blah, blah. Baseball's got its like a sorority kind of thing.
Yeah, plus the Angels are kind of overshadowed by the Dodgers out there in that part of the country. So
that's true. And yeah, they're not good. At least Kobe and like those guys, they're leading them to championships.
Yep.
But I guess that's just the beauty of baseball.
All right.
Take it over.
We'll go with Kobe Bryant for episode 24. So Kobe Bryant and football. So
is that the name, Kobe Bryant and football?
It can be. So you want to delve into the Husker game a little bit, or you want to talk about the pros?
I want to delve into the Golden Gophers.
The Golden Goofoo. All right.
The Goofoo? What the hell's a Goofoo?
That's just a reference to another show.
What show?
Chicken Egg. Just something they were kind of
Chicken Egg.
So.
The actual professional podcasters.
So, yeah. Sure. So yeah, overall, I'm excited for the season. I don't really know what I'm thinking as far as like predictions. People say, "What do you think?" And I say, "Well, I hope they're 500." But honestly, I would just like to see them clean up the mental side of the game. I'm not sure what they're going to be yet. I know Matt Rule wants to emphasize a more of a physical type of offense and stuff, but that's what Minnesota also does. But I just, I want to see them cut down on the penalties, the jumping off sides, clean up their turnovers.
Just mental stuff.
Just come out there and look like a polished football team that they just never quite did under Scott Frost. They always just looked like they were kind of a little bit out of sync. So,
or some blunder, miscue always ends up being their downfall.
Yeah, the mental side.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see the 3-3-5 defense. It's going to have a lot of versatility. I think that will be good for this team. They can adapt to more of a running defense, playing to defend the run. They can diversify to be more of a defending against the pass. They have some guys that are fast and, big enough to kind of move up to a linebacker position if need be. Their depth on the defensive line is a little questionable. They have 3 solid starters, but their backups are, untested and going to maybe have a couple true freshmen that are going to get thrown into the fire. And I believe one, or if not, both of them have been named freshman All-American, which is nice honors, but they haven't proved anything on the field yet. But I do, as far as the game, I do expect Minnesota and PJ Fleck to kind of come out and test Nebraska on the ground, with the strong physical running game, because that's what they've known for anyway.
Yeah, it's I think it's a good
litmus test.
Yes, I kind of think what it was called.
It's ironic too, because I think Minnesota's going to kind of be the style of team that Nebraska kind of wants to become. Solid run game. Don't beat yourself. Force the other team to go long distances. Don't give up big plays. That kind of thing. And PJ Flex has his culture established there, and the team guys on his team and his assistant coaches know what he wants and what they're supposed to do. Whereas, Matt is just installing that in there, and he's had a good off season.
Off-season champions.
Yeah, he hasn't made a misstep that I've seen. He says the right things. He's emphasizing the right things. He knows Nebraska's a blue collar state, so he's emphasizing his team to be a blue collar team. He's establishing leadership, a stronger mentality. His vision's more about the process, and then if you adhere to the process and take care of the little things, then the results will follow.
Very wise word for us.
Yeah, so he's just kind of laying the groundwork for what his his program's going to be. And I did see he did an interview on Colin Cowherd, and he says, yeah, normally my system would take like 3 years to implement. That's what he would preferably like. But, the seniors came to him and said, this is our last go around. We don't want to just spend a year rebuilding for the future. We want to try to make a run at it. So they've kind of, changed up their philosophy a little bit of how they're doing things, trying to make things a little bit more immediate. So it'll be interesting to see how they combine those two things and kind of what the results are. But I think if Nebraska loses Thursday, but actually comes out and plays hard and plays physical, plays fast, smart, as we've said a couple times already, even if they end up losing, as long as it's not a blowout, I think people will feel pretty good about, okay, they've kind of got their feet wet, kind of self got established, but then they have to turn around, go back on the road the next week out to Boulder, where, it's going to be Deion's first home game, in front of the home crowd. And that'll be a raucous atmosphere. And I know we haven't even played the Minnesota game yet, but I expect that to be, like I said, a wild, like carnival-like atmosphere. I'm sure Colorado and Deion will throw out some trick plays. So, it's going to be interesting to see how these first 2 weeks go for Nebraska, because I think they're going to go from playing a physical run-style heavy team to more of maybe a flashy, throw it around the field, and try to show off. Not that this is what he's doing, but Deion's going to probably want to try to show off for the fans and the national, the national coverage, because this is the first time people are going to be tuning in. Well, not the first time, but it'll be the first time he's be able to take his show and highlight it to the country at home.
Yeah, because they're playing TCU first, right?
Yes, which is a pretty big test already, because I think TCU's like top 20 ranked team.
I thought they said 17 when I was seeing the ads.
Well, top 20, yeah. Somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah. No, I just realized, too, when I'm going to Chicago, we're leaving that Saturday, and that's the Nebraska-Colorado game. So I wonder what time we're leaving, because I would like to watch that. But then we can't just leave at, 3 p.m.
Well, I'm sure you can find it on the radio somewhere.
No, yeah, but it would be kind of nice to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually have a playlist. Me and my sister have a playlist of songs that we're going to listen to the whole way. They already have it planned out, so.
Oh, okay.
Well, they did say at one point we would do it. We have an hour, so we can play whatever we want. I could make them listen to wrestling podcast or whatever, and then they'd have me listen. So one of the hours could be listening to a Nebraska football game.
There you go. You have to plan out what hour you want so you can catch the good part of the game.
Yeah. Oh, welcome to the halftime report. Fuck. That's what always happened at Target. Oh, I'm going to go on break, watch the Packers. Oh, we just hit the half. And it's okay. I sit there for halftime. Oh, the third quarter started. We got to go back to work.
Yeah.
So this is always a big pain in the ass. But that's when that one manager worked there. His name was Nick. He was a pretty cool dude. I don't know how old he was. Probably in his 20s. He'd be like, hey, Green Bay plays at noon, right? I go, yeah. He goes, I got you on break at 12:15. I said, thanks, Nick. You the best. So he was a Cardinals fan. And he liked the Rams, but then when they left St. Louis, he got pissed. So he's a Chiefs fan now because they're in Missouri. Uh-huh. But that was 2018, so that was kind of before all the Chiefs fandom stuff started. So he can get included in all that.
I can remember back to my days as a teenager when I worked at Baker's grocery stores, and I was supposed to work the day of the Nebraska-Oklahoma game. And my starting time was going to be just before halftime. So I thought, well, at least I can see half the game. But then they call and say, we're slammed. We're super busy. Can you come in early? And I go, yeah, as long as I can have my lunch at this time. Because I thought, well, it would be roughly the start of the third quarter, so I could at least catch some of because I live pretty close. So I could go home, watch a half hour of the game and come back and be fine. So I showed up early, blah, 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 blah. Well, hey, Todd, I can't give you your lunch when you wanted it, so I have to send you now. Like, what? So, of course, it was halftime. So I went home, didn't see any of the game, just all the band on the field and all the reports of all the other games. I had to go back to work, so I was kind of pissed. I did them a favor.
And then they didn't do you no favors.
And then they did me wrong. So,
well, they'll probably go, yeah, I can make it work. And then they go, oh, fuck, we can't.
Well, they probably just said whatever to get me to come in early. But let's get back to the Husker game.
Yeah.
Reliving our
or talk about our trips that don't matter.
Early work history, yeah. So
sad thing is, this is still my work history.
I know, right?
Now I know your pattern again, your phone.
I know, right? But yeah, speaking of Matt Rule and establishing his culture, they've kind of started a new thing this year, and he talked about he had a player that wore I think he said like number 2 or number 1, and then they had an incoming freshman that wanted the same number, and they were trying to figure out how to decide who would get that number. So what they decided to do, and I think he's done this at other places, they've made all the single digit numbers something that you have to work towards and earn. And you don't have to be a necessarily starter, but he said it's players who exemplify what it is to be a Cornhusker, your work ethic, being a leader, helping, doing things outside in the community, establishing the culture, being a good teammate, things like that. It's not necessarily all about football. It's about you as a person. And these players have had to earn these single-digit numbers. And the last 3 were handed out today or yesterday. But of the 9, surprisingly, only 2 of them are on offense. But I will say there's a little flaw in the system just for the fact that if one of these guys is an offensive lineman, offensive linemen can't wear single-digit numbers in college football. So an offensive lineman can't really win one of these, which, I don't know if they take that into consideration or not.
Well, I guess they want to be one of the people complaining that they couldn't wear number 1 in the first place.
Yeah,
but
they
could probably still highlight them.
Well, you think maybe they would let them wear it during practice week or something? Say, okay, this is your, you can wear for example, number 8 as a practice jersey all week, and then when we get to the game, you have to go back to your regular number. But I don't know. I don't know how they work that. But so
fuck the offensive lineman.
So here's the 9 that were awarded. Number 0 went to Nash Hutchmacher, a defensive lineman. Number 1 went to Billy Kemp, the wide receiver transfer out of Virginia. And he's one of the 2 offensive players. Isaac Gifford, defensive back from here in Nebraska. Nick Henrich, linebacker from Omaha Burke, who's just coming back from a knee injury. Luke Reimer, who's also from Nebraska at Lincoln. John Bullock, who's from Nebraska as well. Omaha Creighton Prep, I believe. Quentin Newsom, who just got his number awarded today. He got number 6. And these are going numerical order, by the way. And he actually was number 6 last year. So they might have held that number, for him, hoping that he would establish himself and get it back.
Yeah, hopefully.
Number 7, quarterback Jep Sims, the transfer from Georgia Tech.
He's the man.
Uh-huh. Number 8 is linebacker Deshaun Singleton. Who incidentally earned a black shirt today.
A black shirt.
A black shirt, I said.
No, you didn't. You said
black shirt. And then the last one goes to another defensive tackle, Ty Robinson, who earned number 9.
Cool.
So any thoughts on those?
Sound like great dudes.
Yeah, they've all some of them are former walk-ons who've earned scholarships. John Bullock was a walk-on. He earned a scholarship this year.
Those are always good stories to see when they have clips of those guys.
And it's always good to have the Nebraska guys in there because it means a little bit more to them to wear that N and that white helmet and stuff and put on those shoulder pads and what have you to get out there and represent the state. So
hey, Nebraska jerseys are clean. Just the white, the white helmets with the red. I mean, you know what I mean. The white helmets with the red N. Clean looking.
Have you seen the jerseys they're going to wear against Northwestern for the 100th anniversary of the Memorial Stadium? Have you seen those?
Yeah, because they're like alternates, right? But they look kind of the same.
They're not changed much. The only thing they really did was 2 things. They put like a blue outline, a thin blue outline of the number.
Yeah.
For like red, bright, and blue. And then the motto on the outside of the stadium, because Memorial Stadium was originally built in honor of all the people that served in World War I. So they have that saying on the like the white, there's like a couple of white ribbons on the sleeves. Well, they have the saying of the stadium on the sleeves.
Those blah blah blah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the saying off the top of my head, but
yeah. So they're pretty modest alternates. They look pretty much like the regular jersey except for those 2 little things. But it's it's a special jersey for a 100 year anniversary of a great lady. So.
Do you know what the saying is?
Well, there's a couple. There's like through these gates, but that's not what that is.
Oh, never mind. That's the one I thought it was.
That's about the fans.
Oh, is it about the actual?
Yeah, through these gates past the greatest fans in college football.
Yeah,
I'll look it up to make sure. I don't have.
Well, anyways, I'm excited for Nebraska football. I've said this for the last 5 years. I'm going to go to a game in Lincoln because I haven't been to a game in Lincoln in forever. I don't even know how many games I've been to in Lincoln. Maybe just one.
Well, I'm taking you to a couple.
In Lincoln?
Mm-hmm.
I know we went to that Texas Tech one a long time ago where they got their butts kicked. And then we went to one in Canton. I've been to a lot of road games.
All right. Not the victory, but the action. Not the goal, but the game. In the deed, the glory.
But I actually will be in Lincoln Wednesday for volleyball day in Nebraska.
That's right. That's a big one. Looks like the weather's going to be decent for the event. Not overly hot, not much wind, which is good for volleyball, and going to be a sellout and a concert afterwards.
Well, we'll leave it during the concert because we don't care.
It's some Curry?
Nah, yeah, some country guy I never heard of. We go, well, we can beat some traffic on the way out.
You could.
Yeah, but let's go Mavericks. Woo! My school.
Yeah.
They're just going to be fodder to the biggest crowd in volleyball history.
Well, you hope.
But, well, no, we don't hope if we went to the university.
Mm-hmm.
We don't hope they're fodder. We hope they play well and competitively. But they won't.
Well, I got the starting – well, not the starting, but I got the offensive depth chart here for the Huskers for the game, and I'll go through it and see if there's anything in here that surprises you at all.
I don't know a lot of – college, I don't have a hard time keeping up with all the recruiting and crap.
Well,
so it's mostly after week one I'll kind of learn who's who.
Yeah, there's some freshmen that are on the depth chart, not starting, but they're in there. I mean, there's 2 freshmen backing up on the line, and there's a redshirt freshman backing up on the right side of the line.
I have a question.
And then the 4th running back's a redshirt freshman, and the starting fullback is a redshirt freshman from Ellenwood, Georgia. What is your question?
This is actually week 1, right?
Uh-huh.
No, it's not. Week 0 was.
No, we played week 0 last year. We played.
No, yeah, but that was Notre Dame this year, right?
Mm-hmm. We played Navy.
Did you see all the tweets about? I don't want to mention it again on the onside kick thing. They said Notre Dame, you're up 2 scores, you should do an onside kick.
No.
They said that'll
Yeah.
beat Navy for sure.
Yeah,
they didn't need it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Your left tackle will be Turner Corcoran.
I know who that is.
A little surprised because Teddy Prohaska is still rehabbing from his injury, and he's not back fully healthy. But when he is, he'll have a chance to get that job back. But right now he's listed as 3rd string. Left guard Ethan Piper, been in the program for a few years. Solid player.
I didn't know Roddy Piper played for us.
He doesn't.
Oh.
Center Ben Scott, the transfer, in from Arizona State. Right guard Nori Noeli comes back from his PED suspension last year. Did a little performance enhancing, and he had to sit out all last year.
Well, if he's got a little bit of that left.
Yeah. Right tackle Bryce Benhart.
Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
He had struggled last couple of years, but they say he looked really good in camp and kind of showed something. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up. Tight end Nate Borkacher, sophomore. Right now he's ahead of Thomas Fedoni from Council Bluffs, the big recruit a couple years ago.
Well, I have another question for you.
Slot is Billy Kemp, the transfer from Virginia. Hold on. Wide receiver, our starter is Alex Bullock with Marcus Washington, the transfer from Texas, still is there. Returning is at the other receiver is Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, who scored the very first touchdown for Nebraska last year in said Ireland.
And left, and then came back.
Had some issues and left and was able to come back. Starting quarterback is transfer Jeff Sims with Heinrich Harburg as 2nd string and Chuba Purdy actually 3rd string, which is a little bit surprising. Your starting running back is Gabe Urban.
Oh, yeah, big boy.
6 foot 220. He's a physical type of back that Nebraska hasn't had in a while. Now, number 2 is Ramir Johnson, and 3 is returning starter Anthony Grant, who's had some fumbling issues in the last couple scrimmages, and so that's kind of cost him. And then the fullback is Janarin Bonner. I think that's how you say his name. Is Janiran. 6'2", 220, about the same size as Gabe Irvin. Defense in Ty Robinson. Previously mentioned number 0, Nash Hutchmacher. The other defensive end is Blaze Gunderson.
That's a badass name.
A little smallish at 6'6", 265 for the Big Ten. So we'll see how he holds up. Luke Reimer, who we mentioned previously. Nick Henrich, who we mentioned also. The Jack linebacker, which is just a name for one of their positions, is Chief Borders, one of the best names on the team. Transfer.
Florida?
Came in from Florida.
Oh, look at me.
Yeah. And he's ahead of MJ Sherman, who's the big transfer out of Georgia. But I expect them both to play a lot. Cornerback Quentin Newsom, who we just mentioned. Isaac Gifford is the rover. And your starting safeties are Omar Brown and Deshaun Singleton. Oh, I thought he was a linebacker. Apparently, he's a defensive back. My bad there. And then opposite cornerback is Malcolm Hartzog, who we saw intercept a pass at Rutgers last year. And then your special teams is Tristan Alvano, the freshman from Omaha West Side. Brian Buschini, the punter.
Oh, yeah, I got shout out to punter.
The kickoff specialist, he's also the holder. The long snapper is Marco Ortiz, a senior out of Richmond, Virginia. Some props to the long snappers. Kick returner is Emmett Johnson. And the punt returner is Billy Kemp IV. And there you are. There's your depth chart going into week 1 at Minnesota.
Can I have my question answered again?
You can have your question asked, and then you might have it answered.
What's going on with Eric Gilbert?
They are still trying to get him eligible. They are trying to get something finished with the NCAA and get a final ruling before the game this week so they can decide what they're going to do with him.
What's the issue?
As of now, I don't. Well, because he transferred in this year, and I don't. Maybe I'm not sure exactly what it is. I don't know if it's grades or he might have an eligibility thing where he hasn't passed all his classes. I'm not sure quite what the holdup is, but Nebraska thinks they have a good case to get him cleared. So it just depends on the NCAA and whether or not maybe Georgia's holding it up for some reason. Maybe they haven't allowed him to become eligible right away. I don't know all the details on that. I just saw the headline this afternoon. So
I did too. That's why I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, there you go.
So excited to see the Big Red kickoff in Minneapolis. I've been there for a game. It's a nice stadium. But yeah, I'm just excited to see. My nerves aren't too bad. I know they'll ramp up right before kickoff, and then hopefully I don't have a lot to yell at the TV for this year.
Well, no offense with Nebraska. At least expectations are usually kind of low now, so it's not as stressful. But you hope, because then you get kind of excited. You always get excited when Nebraska, like when they're in a game and they're playing well, you're like, oh man, this is it. And then you always feel like, yeah, you're always nervous for something bad to go wrong.
Nebraska's always been so successful, in most of my life. So it is hard for me to see him play somebody like Illinois. No offense to any Illini fans out there, but I just kind of basically always expect them to beat Illinois just because, you think they're better than Illinois. But recent history, Illinois has been better than them. And it's just like even Minnesota. I think Minnesota's won 4 of the last 5 times they played each other. So it's just like, So it's hard to get. It's just so ingrained in me that Nebraska is usually better than most teams they play every year, except maybe Oklahoma or Colorado or Ohio State every year. And even then, I'm like, well, this could be the time. If we do things just go right, we could still beat them. And then we lose like by 30 or something. Like,
damn Bo Pelini years.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just I don't want to say I'm getting more complacent about it, but as I age, there's more things going on in my life. And I got other things I'll take a little bit of priority and things I want to do. And so football just across the board just is not as important to me as it once was. But I definitely still do like to watch the Huskers when they're on, and I'm able to, and the Steelers, of course. So the actual games, but a lot of stuff outside of the actual game itself just isn't. I just don't stress about it and put as much time and effort. Because I can remember when Nebraska would lose when I was a kid, I would just be such a bad mood for like the next week until they played again. I was just like, I would get so upset when they lost. So.
Well, I still do.
But that's kind of like, just being spoiled for all these years, just winning so much. So it's just a mindset, you got to, learn. And it's like the opposite way now, like with the Cubs, the Cubs finally won after all those years. Now that people have to learn how to be more, have like more of a winning mindset and how to be more gracious losers as, it was kind of fun to be a lovable loser for all those years. Now it's just like, well, you guys are kind of dicks. So
what's your ceiling for Nebraska? Like, what do you think they could get to? And then where do they be at when you're like, man, this was a shitty year?
There's so many variables, Nathan. I mean, it all depends on injuries and, stuff like that. If Jeff Sims goes down, who knows where things will go. I think if somehow, they had a lot of close games last year, and they always seem to kind of find a way to lose those games. So if they can turn some of those around, I mean, if they could go 8-4, I'd be really ecstatic, but I think 6-6, 7-5 would be a really good stepping stone. And like I said, if they would turn out to be 4-8, but actually were like super competitive in all these games, and not throwing them away like a couple of those games they did last year, I'd be all right with that, because I know this is Matt Rule's first year of an 8-year deal, so he didn't turn things around right away in his other 2 stops, but he's got a little bit of that pro experience now, and he says it made him a better coach, coaching guys like Christian McCaffrey and players like that in the pros. So we'll see. I don't have any expectations, good or bad, really. I just, because I'm not sure what I'm going to see. So I'll wait till I see it out on the field, and then I can kind of go from there.
That was a nice answer. And you knew it was serious because you said, I don't know, Nathan. You threw my name in there.
I did. Nathaniel Benjamin.
Oh, yeah. All right. So here we have.
Oh, I have one last thing to say. Go Big Red.
Go Big Red. I don't want to be that guy.
Day by day.
See, I always say you go Big Red after the one guy goes, but I don't want to be the guy that's like,
Go Big Red.
Yeah, I don't want to be that. Go Big Red.
There you go.
I don't want to. There's always the drunk guy that says it really. Yeah. But, all right, well, right here where it says, right under where it says Pat McAfee in bubble letters, it says NFL season predictions.
Is that a bubble letter?
Kind of.
You didn't bubble it very much. That's more like
they're like
block letters.
So, I don't know why. I was watching a Pat McAfee interview of Vince McMahon, and for some reason I thought I could write Pat McAfee in bubble letters or bordered letters.
That's more like a bubble letter.
I kind of like when I do it.
You kind of put them next to each other like it's one big part of the blow up.
Yeah, but when I do it, I kind of go like this. I kind of do it like that sometimes. That's just a bad example. But I have my NFL season predictions.
Ooh.
Because by the time we record next, the season should have started already. Because it's not next weekend, it's the next weekend. But I'm going to be in Chicago the next weekend, so.
I know.
By the time we get the podcast, it'll probably be then after. So, I figured this would be a great time to do our predictions because, we love making predictions and being wrong all the time. So.
I know, especially you.
What do you mean, especially me? What's that supposed to mean?
Just teasing, babe.
What'd you call me?
So just teasing, babe.
I was going to say, I thought you did say babe. You're too busy texting your babe, and you called me babe on accident. All right, but I know you got your predictions ready to go.
I do.
He's lying, but it's okay. I never prepared for the podcast, so.
Division by division. Where are we going? American League? National League?
That's the wrong sport. You mean? I guess it is the AFC and the NFC. So let's start with the AFC because it's on my left. Which one do you want to start with?
I don't care.
Well, let's start with the probably. Well, it's a tough division, but we'll start with the easy one, the AFC West. Who do you like winning the division?
Well, I picked the Chargers last year, and they kind of let me down. But that's because they threw a bad interception going in for a touchdown against the Chiefs at home that I think they might have, it might have been an Arrowhead, I can't remember. But
that's when Herbert got them broken ribs, right?
Yeah, I think they could have won that game if they would have scored there. But, you got to take the Chiefs until they're overthrown. San Diego's going to have a really good team. I think Vegas is going to be much improved. I think Denver will be a little bit better. Denver's just starting with Sean Payton, and they're going to have to kind of build back up to where they were. I mean, losing Judy for several weeks isn't going to help. But we just don't know what Russell Wilson's going to show up this year. So I'll take the Chiefs.
I also have the Chiefs.
Okay.
Not too exciting. I like.
Did you write down? I put the Chiefs.
No. Okay. Hold on. Let me go over here. See, look, I wrote Undertaker in bubble letters here, and I have 3 photos.
That's not bubble letters either.
Well, I have 3 flowers here too.
No, that's your predictions.
And then for some reason I wrote Sean 729, and then I don't know what that number is, so I'm not going to say it just in case it's something weird.
Okay.
Oh, I know what this is for actually. It's from some video game I was doing.
Okay.
Dad.
Yes.
Sorry, that's not what I meant.
What did you apologize for?
Yes, the team that wins the West is the team in the Midwest.
And I'm trying not to talk too loud this week because I know some of our listeners wear earbuds while they're out on the route, and I don't want to blow their ears out.
I'm sorry, I'll try to enunciate better too. I just have a speech impediment.
Yes.
All right, AFC South. Don't look at my predictions, buddy.
Why did I do that?
AFC South, the shitty division in the conference.
I'm going to say the Jaguars.
Any reasoning?
It's their second year with Doug Peterson. Their quarterback's got a little more experience. They've added some pieces like Calvin Ridley. Their defense will hopefully be a little bit better. Keep the other teams out of the end zone a little bit more. The Colts are transitioning. Got a rookie quarterback whose completion percentage in college was like 50%, 52% or something like that.
He's a project.
But yeah, he's got to develop into a quarterback. Tennessee is still trying to find themselves. They got Derrick Henry, but he's got more mileage on his body, and Tannehill's kind of struggled a little bit. The Texans are kind of in the same spot as the Broncos, where they've kind of starting over, building back up. Got some nice pieces, but I think Houston will probably be they'll probably have a top 5 pick again next year. But I'll go with the Jaguars in this division.
Yeah, same thing. Trevor, I kind of agree with you. Well, I do agree with you, I should say. Trevor Lawrence came along in the second half of the year. I mean, you couldn't be much worse than you were under the Urban Meyer era. Mm-hmm. But he finally showed the flashes that we knew he would be the number 1 overall pick. And then this is just kind of the battle of the rebuilds. Jacksonville's further along into theirs, so they have more potential. Houston's at the bottom, but they finally got their guy, so take a year to do something.
And they did name C.J. Stroud the starter this week. So.
The Titans are probably going to start a rebuild soon because Tannehill, he had that nice year in the pan, but that was kind of a 1-year thing. And then Derrick Henry, you never know. He's getting older and he's running tired. So they're going to have to start doing things. And then the Colts have just started rebuilding. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to probably trade away the top 5 running back. So, because they're open to trades now. So who knows what's going on with them. So I think the Jaguars is just kind of the safe pick. Mm-hmm. So then we'll move over to your division as a Steelers fan, the AFC North. And for those who are unfamiliar, the Browns are in there, the Bengals are in there, the Ravens are in there, and the Steelers are in that division.
I think the choice is between the Bengals and the Ravens. The Ravens brought in a new offensive coordinator. Lamar's back healthy right now.
Yes.
But the same with the Chiefs. Bengals have kind of established themselves as the team to beat right now. They have pieces. Their defense has gotten a little bit better. Their coach is a little more experienced.
Shout out Zach Taylor.
Yeah, Zach Taylor, former Cornhusker. Go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
So I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one.
Man, this is boring. We both picked the Bengals. Ooh. We have all 3 of the same so far.
Well, it was close. I mean, I thought about the Ravens.
Well, the Ravens, it's going to be a 2-man race.
But
no offense to the Steelers.
After I thought about the Bengals, I just thought, Ravens, nevermore.
On your window door or whatever the saying is. No, the Browns will be better this year. I think people are going to kind of write them off.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think Deshaun Watson will be pretty good. But
I love Nick Chubb in fantasy, but I didn't get a chance to pick him. So
yeah, I think Watson and Cooper, they got a potential to be kind of dynamic. But do we trust them enough going into the year? Probably not. Mm-hmm. Especially a team. I'm a believer now in Joe Burrow. He's shown the glimpses multiple times.
You dug yourself a hole with that one.
Yeah. You made that joke at the draft. So
where's that soundboard? I need my rim shot.
The Ravens, it all depends on Lamar's health, and he hasn't proven, except that 1 year, that he could do it consistently throughout the year.
Yeah, and they've added some pieces, but then now Dobbins has a little bit of injury problem, so we'll see.
All right. And then the last one, and probably the toughest division to pick in the AFC, is the AFC East, because I think you can make an argument that all 4 of the teams could make the playoffs.
Well, ironically, the Patriots is probably the one team I'm not considering. I think all the other 3 have a legitimate reason to maybe argue for it.
I would agree.
But the Patriots Mac Jones is a solid quarterback, but he just hasn't established himself yet.
Nor does he have the system around him to be kind of.
I'm gonna go with Miami. I would say a lot of people like Buffalo, but as I watched the games last year, and maybe this is a reason I had a chance to take Josh Allen in my draft and I didn't. It seemed like to me that some of the other teams in the league, and especially their division, were kind of catching up to what the Bills were doing, and they had to really fight to win some of those games last year. And I know they had a couple injuries, like they lost Gabe Davis and stuff. But I like the Dolphins. If Tua's back, if he can keep himself healthy and protect himself, they got Tyreek Hill. They have some good running backs. They're in contention, like you said a little bit a while ago, to maybe get Taylor. So I just like the dynamic potential of their offense. Buffalo does have that as well, and of course Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. He's a veteran leader with a lot of young guys. Solid receivers. Breece Hall comes back to anything. They picked up Dalvin Cook. So I think the Jets' questions to me mostly is a little bit on defense. I mean, Sauce Gardner is like an all-world defensive back. But, I just I'm going to lean Dolphins, but I wouldn't be surprised actually if the Buffalo Bills or the New York Jets would sneak in there and win the division. But
yeah,
I like Miami.
I definitely was 3-team race, and I went back and forth, but I picked the Bills.
Oh, okay.
Just as the established. Well, I guess you want to say established. I like where Miami's going though. They're making big moves to play.
Mm-hmm.
The Jalen Ramsey thing it's kind of like, well, now he's out till like December.
Yeah,
hurting. So that's kind of a piece gone. And then Tua's health. There's kind of a question mark on it. Running back's kind of a revolving door. Mostert's good if he's healthy, but he's usually hurt by week 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jeff Wilson's all right, but is he like a main guy? So I kind of like Buffalo's defense a little bit better. It's kind of the main reason why I went with them. But now we have to pick 3 wild cards.
Yeah, I know, right?
And do you want me to go through my wild cards first?
Sure.
All right.
Because when I go back and listen to the podcast, I always say, "Do you want me to go first, or would you like to go first?" You always say, "You can go first." It seems like so. You should be able to go first. Since I did the intro, you can go first now.
Oh yeah, we also decided every time the episode's a multiple of 4, my dad will do the intro.
Sweet. So all your subscribers out there, every 4th episode, make sure you tune in because you'll hear this melodic, sexy voice coming at you over the airwaves.
Well, we just lost all
and
our
lost
all our
and
viewers.
you know who I'm talking to, ladies.
Ugh. Well, because we just had the conversation about how it was a close race between the Bills and the Dolphins.
Oh.
My first wild card is the Miami Dolphins.
Ooh.
I think the Miami Dolphins will be in the playoffs for sure. And my man Tua is going to be leading it, hopefully, because I have him in fantasy in one league.
Oh,
so
nice.
And then the next team, I have the Baltimore Ravens, considering that they stay healthy.
Yes.
No, and then this last one was hard for me because I really like the Los Angeles Chargers. Ooh. And you really want to root for the Los Angeles Chargers. Herbert, he's the man. He's the top 5 quarterback in my opinion.
Keenan Allen's back healthy? Yeah.
Keenan Allen's back healthy. They got all the pieces together. But for some reason...
Don't forget Tank Bigsby out there in Jacksonville. Shout out to Lisa.
Hey, but I have the Jags in the playoffs already. But I don't know. Staley and that Chargers team, they always seem to have something kind of rough going on. In the playoffs,
Staley.
Who's their coach?
Is it Staley?
I thought his name was... I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, look it up. My phone's dead.
Yeah,
look up the Chargers head coach. But whoever that guy is that's coaching there, blowing big leagues in Jacksonville, there was a lot of stuff on the hot seat about him leaving, and then they brought him back. So I'm not too keen on the Chargers. And then the reason I didn't pick the Jets to win the division, even though...
Brandon Staley.
Yeah, Brandon Staley.
You're
See,
right.
I'm right. You got me questioning myself.
Well, I was thinking of Deuce Staley, the former running back. What?
Because I didn't want to say Brandon Staley and sound like an idiot if he was like an NBA player or something.
24 episodes in, and now you don't want to sound like an idiot.
Okay, yeah, but the big Jacksonville loss, and then there was like, well, Brandon Staley's got to go. They under-exceed every year, blah, 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 blah. So he's on the hot seat, so that's probably could cause a lot of issues. And the Jets, I would like to pick to win the division because they have all the potential in the world. I think they have a really good defense. But then Aaron Rodgers, they have to click. Aaron Rodgers is going to be cursing people out because wide receivers aren't going to read his mind and run the right route. See, now that Aaron Rodgers is on my team, I can say all the same shit people have said to me for 10 years. So it's going to take a few weeks to gel. It's like Tampa Bay in the first year. They kind of struggled, and then all of a sudden they won 6 games in a row and they won the Super Bowl. So it may take a little bit. So I have them as my third wild card. I don't like the coaching situation in the Chargers. I feel like they're going to under-exceed again until they get someone new in. In my opinion, I thought they should have got rid of Staley when they blew
It's a good opinion.
28-point lead in the playoffs or whatever that big collapse was. And shout out to Jags because the owner of the Jags, he runs All Elite Wrestling. Tony Khan.
Nice.
Well, I guess he's the son of the guy that
Brother.
owns it.
Well, I will go with the Brandon Staley-led Chargers as well.
Okay, you have to rank them now. We got to do the playoff predictions too. So you have to have your 1, your 2, and your 3.
Okay. I'll go with the Brandon Staley-led Chargers.
Do you want this first wild card?
Yes.
Okay.
And then my second.
That may be the thing that bites me in the butt. Ew.
I will go with the Buffalo Bills for all the reasons I mentioned earlier when I was talking about my divisional pick.
But you still think the Chargers are better?
And my third wild card team is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Really?
They have a strong defense, and I think Kenny Pickett's more advanced than a lot of people think. He's played surprisingly well in the preseason. You could see him improving last year.
Sorry.
He has a good connection with his receivers and got a good set of backs with Najee and Jalen Warren. So I like the Steelers. I think they can edge out the Ravens for a second spot in the division. So I'm going to go with them. I like them a little bit better than the Jets' potential. So it's probably a homer pick, but I'm going to take the Steelers slightly over the Ravens for my last wild card.
See, even I didn't have the homer urge, even though I did kind of. I'm like, man.
Oh, we haven't got to the NFC yet. So
I said, man, I think the Packers could sneak in that third wild card spot.
So.
All right. Well, now we'll go to the NFC.
All right.
And because we started with the West, we'll start with the West again.
Okay.
The NFC West, that has the Seattle Seahawks,
Yes.
the Arizona Cardinals,
Arizona.
the Los Angeles Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers.
What was that last team?
San Francisco 49ers.
That's who I'm taking, the 49ers.
Oh.
Purdy's back. We got CMC for a full year. Got dynamic receivers. If Bosa doesn't hold out too long, got a strong defense. Arizona's down with Kyler Murray out. Stafford struggling to connect with his rookies, according to his wife. He has a hard time connecting with them. And Seattle's got some pieces. Can Geno Smith bounce back and play well? Potentially.
Will not bounce back, stay consistent.
Will stay consistent. They got Jackson Smith and Jigbug, but he's injured currently right now. So they have a chance to be good, but I think the 49ers are the class of that division right now.
I would agree.
Okay.
Even though I do like the Seahawks. It depends on Geno how well he plays.
I like the team. I still think Pete Carroll's a douchebag.
Well, I think he is too.
I like Seattle and the team. And
But they have a
12th man, and I like the neon green when they have it on their jerseys. Kind of cool.
They have a lot of playmakers on defense.
Mm-hmm.
They have some playmakers on offense. It just depends on how well Geno Smith plays.
It
The
does.
thing.
It does.
But I do kind of like them. But not enough to pick the 49ers in the division. I think they're easily.
Not enough to not pick the 49ers in the division is what you meant, right?
Not enough to oversee the 49ers.
Okay.
I think they're easily the class of that one.
All right.
So then I guess I will start with we did AFC South, the NFC South, which is also a very shitty division. The South division suck.
Mm-hmm.
So that has the rebuilding Atlanta Falcons,
Mm-hmm.
the rebuilding Tampa Bay Bucks,
Mm-hmm.
the rebuilding New Orleans Saints,
Mm-hmm.
and the rebuilding Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, this is the battle of the rebuilds, kind of which one's further along. But actually, I kind of went away with that one because I would think probably the Saints are further along. They kind of got an established guy in Derek Carr, so that maybe they have a few weapons to go. But I picked the Carolina Panthers.
Oh,
because
interesting.
They played a little bit well down the stretch. They had a chance to sneak in the NFC South last year ahead of Tampa Bay, but I think did they lose to Tampa Bay, which is how they got out of the.
Was that Matt Rule's last NFL game?
No, he got fired like week 4, didn't he?
Oh,
he got fired. So it was whoever their interim coach was.
Oh, okay.
But now they got Frank Wright in there.
Yeah.
So he's going to bring it in. He's bringing the system.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got Bryce Young.
They do.
Who's the man?
He is.
And I said, why not pick the Carolina
Why
Panthers?
not?
To be honest, I think it's kind of a shithole division. I've defended Derek Carr a lot on this show.
Mm-hmm.
I said he's a pretty decent quarterback. He's underrated. But I don't know. Just him and the Saints, it just doesn't feel like they're going to win that division by far. So I went with the Panthers because why not?
Yeah.
And to be different.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, except I'm taking the Saints.
All right. So it's those two.
Well, I was thinking the Falcons, but I don't know if Ritter's quite the quarterback yet. They have some good pieces around. Bijan Robinson will be a strong piece, and Kyle Pitts is coming back. But I think New Orleans already has that stuff established. I think the only drawback is just how their new coach is going to approach things. I mean, we knew how Sean Payton would run his offense and mix in Taysom Hill and that kind of stuff, but I don't know quite what they're going to do. But I think Derek Carr is probably the most established quarterback of that division, and that's the only reason I'm really going with the Saints is maybe this will be the year where he can get through a whole year mentally tough and not turn the ball over, and they'll play well. I mean, they have a decent enough defense. I mean, I don't think anybody in that division has a superior defense. So,
well, Tampa Bay is a pretty decent defense.
Yeah, but they're kind of aging it, their main guys. So, yeah, I'll go out on a limb a little bit, but I'll take the Saints slightly over the Falcons.
See, I feel like the Saints is kind of the main pick, but I just went with Carolina May as well. And then Atlanta does have some good pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely very young.
Yeah,
very young, very good.
Yes,
very nice, very evil. That's a reference you won't get. And then the good old NFC North that has the Vikings, the Bears, the Detroit Lions, and my beloved Green Bay Packers, who I'm part owner of.
Yeah. Hey, I know. We interviewed an owner of the Green Bay Packers a couple episodes ago.
I know you did.
You should tune in and catch that if you haven't, listeners.
Well, who do you like to win the NFC North?
I like Honolulu Blue.
The Detroit Lions?
I like the Detroit Lions.
Ooh. Tell me why. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Coaches there, they established a culture. They've emphasized strengthening their offensive defensive lines. Got dynamic offense. Jameson Williams is going to be gone for 6 weeks, but when he comes back, they'll be superior. Play some of their last 8 games in a dome. I think, I think they're just their defense. Aiden Hutchinson, a couple of their draft picks. They're getting stronger. Okuda. I just think overall they're the strongest team, and the thing they have now is they have a strong coach, which they've never had really before. So
Dan Campbell's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember people made fun of him in that press conference. He's talking about biting off kneecaps, but it's worked. He's the man. I also picked the Detroit Lions to win the division. You know me, I'm not a big fan of the Vikings, kind of to begin with, anyways. And then, they lose Dalvin Cook. He's always injured, but he's kind of a dynamic running back. And I'm just not sold on their defense. Then they lost to Darius Smith, who's a big pass rusher in there, who kind of helps them out. The Packers, I like the Packers. I think they'll surprise some people this year, but there's still, it all depends on Jordan Love.
Yeah,
and their pass catchers are very young, so there's going to be a lot of ups and there's going to be a lot of downs, I think, that year. And then the Bears,
a lot of potential. But I don't know if, on offense, I don't know if their defense is strong enough. But I would say the NFC North is probably the most wide open division. But, even though I picked Detroit, it wasn't a hard decision. That's a pretty wide open division. I could see any one of those 4 teams actually winning the division.
Well, I would agree. So the Bears are definitely on the right track. They're not going to be a pushover.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's weird to say that the Vikings don't have the most established culture right now, but I think Detroit's just all the hype and finally, getting a guy that they believe in and going ahead. I think this is kind of the year for them to finally make that push to win the division, hopefully. Because they've made the playoffs, but I don't think they've won the division who knows how long.
Yep.
Because they're competing with Green Bay for that. Mm-hmm. They had those week 17 games to win the division that they haven't won. But I think them winning in Lambeau last year kind of sets the tone for it this year.
Yep.
So I picked the Lions.
Okay.
Even though my beings really wanted me to pick the Packers. And then the last one's the NFC East, which is the Eagles, the Commanders. That photo's outdated.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants and the Cowboys, or the Cowgirls, or the Cowboys, or the Cow People. I guess I'll start because you started the last one.
Okay.
I remember after the Super Bowl, we had a big conversation about the Eagles free agents
and
how they're leaving, and maybe this was kind of their last Super Bowl may have been their opportunity to win because not that they're losing, they have to re-sign all these guys and they're going to lose them. Maybe they're not going to be as strong. But in this division, I still think they're good. The Cowboys are always going to be good. It's just that feeling in that just those last 30 years that they're going to be good. Everyone's going to hype them up. And then for some reason, they're just not going to play well when it counts. And plus, I just like hating on the Cowboys. I do like the Giants, though. Giants I had as a very close to getting in the wild card, as we'll talk
Yeah.
about here in a sec.
And they just traded for Justin Simmons from Arizona for like a 7th-round pick, which was a great trade. I mean, he'll be a dynamic player for them on defense, which they need.
Daniel Jones is now Daniel $100 bills because he got paid.
Brian Daboll's really turned him around and got him focused. So.
Talk about establishing a culture. Brian Daboll's doing that. Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley if he's healthy. And they got Darren Waller. That's another red zone threat because kind of receiving threats seem to be kind of there.
And the Commanders, we talked about a couple episodes ago, finally have a new owner in who's actually a fan of the team. And
yes, that'll help.
They've decided to go with Sam Howell as their quarterback, which, if they're going to start building back and establish, I mean, if you go with Jacoby Brissett, you're just doing status quo. I mean, Naaman Howell, you're putting him in there, he's trying to learn the game, learn under fire and, mix him in there with all the rest of your pieces that you have, like McLaurin and, Samuel and Dotson. And got a couple good backs with Brian Robinson, who's bounced back after getting shot last year, and Gibson. So, and then the big tight end if he bounces back. So
pieces.
Yeah.
Pieces. I mean, not enough established pieces.
Not yet, no. But, they're on the way back. There's really no team in the NFL right now I could say, well, that team's a train wreck. They all seem like they've kind of at least have rebuilt the ground floor and have started building their way back up, to where they're at. So,
well, I guess the only team I would say is kind of a train wreck was the Broncos. But now that they got Sean Payton, they're not really as a train wreck. They're going to be building out of it. But for all the stuff they gave up to get Russell Wilson, they had very high playoff aspirations, maybe even Super Bowl aspirations, and then they just fell flat on their face. They were kind of the train wreck, but you kind of give them a fresh start now. And I think they will be competitive this year. Yeah, for at least the third wild card spot.
I don't think Russell Wilson's going to be the quarterback to get them where they want to be. So in a year or two, Sean Payton's going to have to find that guy. But
they gave up a shit ton for him. Yeah. Well, it's like the 49ers. They gave up 3 first-round picks. You got Trey Lance, then they traded him for a 4th-round pick.
Yeah, I never just understood why they took him when they did anyway. But back to the East. I do like the Eagles still, but I'm gonna lean the Cowboys actually. I know Dak Prescott always kind of spits the bit, some time of the year, but they brought in Brandon Cooks, Micah Parsons a year better. They brought in some pieces on defense. And I expect the Eagles to regress a little bit.
Naturally.
But I think it might be only by a game or two at the most. So I'll take the Cowboys. I'm not a huge Cowboy fan by any means, but I'll pick the Cowboys to win that division.
Well, I'm not hating on the Cowboys at all either. It's just, I don't know, I just like the Eagles better. And I just can't pick the Cowboys. It's not in my being.
Okay.
But then there's 3 wild cards. I'll go through my 3 wild cards.
Okay.
Speaking of hating the Cowboys, they're my first wild card because I still think they're class above. Mm-hmm. Second wild card, like I said, it's kind of a crapshoot in the NFC. It's like there's the division winners, then there's everyone else. But I did go with the Minnesota Vikings as my second wild card. Okay. Because as much as I've said they're kind of not established and they don't feel like like last year their record was really good, but you kind of, they're a team that probably won a few games that they probably could have lost, and they didn't feel like an actual threat. Well, I still think they're more established than the other teams. And then I did go with Seattle as my third wild card again. Okay. I like Geno Smith. I like their young guys. They got Tariq Woolen on defense, and then they got new Jackson Smith, and Jigba coming in, and they still have Tyler Lockett and Kenneth Walker. I think they have a few pieces.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's kind of an enigma.
There you go. So I like him. I had to fight my being to put Green Bay at the third wild card.
I'm sure you did.
I know. Well, I'm gonna take the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really like Kenny Pickett and Pickens.
Well, when they make the playoffs, you'll be going, woo, yeah.
Well, I don't think the Steelers are gonna be bad.
Thank you.
I think they'll be last in the division. But I don't know. Him and the Browns. But yeah.
You done crapping on my team.
So yeah, it was close between Green Bay and probably the Saints too. I could have maybe put the Saints there. But I think it's just NFC South is going to be whoever the hell wins that division will get in.
Well, I will go with the Eagles as my number 1.
Probably a wise
wild
choice.
Card. Like I said, if they don't win the division, I expect Cowboys to only beat them by a game or at the most, and so I could see them winning division. So of course they would make the playoffs. And then I like Seattle as well, just because
as your 2,
as my 2. I kind of expect them to win all the 4 division games with the Cardinals and St. Louis. Actually, at least go 3-1 in those matchups.
I don't think the Rams will be as bad as they were last year, but Playoffs, I don't know.
And then I think my third wild card team is going to be the New York Giants.
I thought about the Giants too.
I like the Giants. Like I said, the NFC North's wide open, but I could see them beating each other up. I mean, I think Chicago could surprise and maybe sneak into that third spot, but I just like what the Giants has established and the pieces they've added. They're not spectacular. They're just a solid team that you just, like I said, they're kind of like we talked about Minnesota earlier, where they just don't beat themselves now. They're just a good, solid team, and they have some good pieces. They've added Darren Waller, and they've added, like I said, just traded for Simmons, and good, strong defense. But this is predicting before the season starts. There's no injuries have taken place or nothing like that.
Of course, there's always the question mark.
But yeah, I'll be interested to see how it shakes out. I think it should be a pretty competitive year in the NFC for sure. The AFC could be a little more open. I could see there being more like a top couple 3 teams and then the rest of them. But I think the NFC should be pretty competitive all year long. I don't see anybody really establishing themselves like the Eagles did last year.
No.
So
it kind of makes me wish Aaron Rodgers was here this year.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very wide open. They could finally be that. Well, we always think it's their year, and then they always lose. But all right, so now we got to go through the playoffs.
Playoffs.
All right.
Talking about
playoffs? So wait, who's your number 1 seed in the AFC? You have to choose between the Chiefs, the Jags, the Bengals, and the Dolphins. You got to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4. I should have had you doing this before.
Oh, Chiefs, Dolphins, Bengals,
Jags.
Yep.
And then in the NFC, how do you feel?
49ers, Cowboys, Lions, Saints.
Okay. So we'll go through your AFC playoff first, and then we'll go through mine afterwards. Because I'm not going to be bouncing back and forth between. So your Chiefs will get a bye. Well, not your Chiefs, but the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
The Chiefs will get the bye. And your thing I meant. So then your first round match would be the Steelers at the Dolphins. Who would win?
Man. I gotta go to the Dolphins.
Dolphins, okay.
That trash can's pretty full there, brother.
I know, I should take it out. And then next would be the Bengals versus... Yeah, hold on. I lost track. It would be the Bengals versus the Bills. That's a tough matchup.
Yeah. I'll go Bengals.
Bengals?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then your last one's Jags and Chargers.
I'm going to go Jags. A little bit of upset there, I think.
Ooh, yeah. Just like last year. So then that means your divisional round would be the Chiefs and the Jaguars.
Chiefs.
And then Dolphins versus Bengals. He said Chiefs, like he's a fan.
Dolphins in a very tight matchup in Cincinnati.
So who's your AFC champ? Chiefs or the Dolphins?
I don't want to say it, but I got to go with the Chiefs.
I know. No offense to the Chiefs. I like Mahomes and all of them, but he's going to be the new Tom Brady after a while. It's going to be fucking Mahomes.
Well, he's all right, but
he's a cool guy. It's just I don't want to fucking see him win.
You got Chiefs. You got Chiefs hangovers running wild now. It's just it's great for Chiefs fans because they waited so long, but it's just the rest of the NFL just like so tired of them.
All right. So in my AFC, Chiefs have to bye as well.
Okay.
And so I have the Bills, who are my 2 seed, versus the Jets, who are my 7 seed. I have the Bills winning. Then I have the Bengals versus the Dolphins is the 3-6 matchup. I have the Bengals beating the Dolphins.
Okay.
And then Jaguars versus Ravens 4-5. And I chose the Ravens. I actually did that backwards, I think. It should be Bengals Dolphins. No, it should be Bengals Ravens and then Jags Dolphins.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, I would pick Bengals over the Ravens and then Dolphins over the
Jags.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it would be Bengals, Dolphins, and I would pick the Bengals.
Okay.
So it still kind of works out. And then the other one would be, so I had Bengals, Bills. So it would be Bills, Chiefs. I don't know how this works. But anyways, I think I fucked it up. But my AFC championship is the Bengals and the Chiefs. And I have the Bengals winning.
Ooh.
They play each other every damn year now.
Seems like it.
And it's got to go back and forth. And, I just don't want to pick the fucking Chiefs to win it. So
Yeah,
I picked
I know.
Joe Burr. Joe Burr.
Joe Burr.
All right.
Can you do the NFC right?
On this, I don't know if I did it on my side right, but I could do it right on your side.
It's starting to get a little warm in here. Does this fan work?
Yeah, but I don't want it on because it'll
Makes
distract
too
from
much
the
noise.
sound. Yes. I didn't rank them, so maybe I did rank them correctly.
Oh.
I don't know. All right. So your first round would be in the NFC. 49ers will have the bye. It'd be the Cowboys versus the New York Football Giants. Cowboys. Okay. So then it would be the Lions versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Lions get a playoff win.
Yes.
There you go.
Shout out to Steve, even though he doesn't listen.
All right. So then it would be the Saints versus the Eagles.
Eagles.
All right.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
So then you got the Cowboys, who haven't been to the NFC Championship game in 30 years, versus the Lions, who probably haven't made it in like 50 years.
Last playoff win for the Detroit Lions was over the Cowboys.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to choose it again?
No.
Okay. The Cowboys?
Yeah.
And then it's going to be a rematch of the NFC Championship game in the divisional, the Eagles versus the 49ers.
I'm going to go with 49ers.
All right.
Throwback to the old days of the Cowboys 49ers. Joe Montana.
And then if this matchup happens, we know they're not going to do a quarterback draw with 13 seconds left. The Cowboys versus the 49ers. Who do you have going to the Super Bowl to play the
San
Chiefs?
Francisco.
Ooh, a rematch of Super Bowl 54, 5, 4,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have the 49ers versus the Chiefs. We have to see who I have playing the Bengals.
Okay.
I think I did this right. So my number 1 seed was the Eagles.
Okay.
My 2 seed is the 49ers.
Okay.
And they would be playing the Seahawks
Okay.
as my 3rd wild card. I have the 49ers beating the Seahawks.
Ooh.
Then I have my 3rd seed, the Lions, playing the 6th seed, which is the Minnesota Vikings. And I also have the Detroit Lions winning a playoff game.
Oh.
So then it would be the 4th seed, my Panthers versus the Cowboys. That's those goat wipes, and these got me for Christmas that you're holding. I have the Cowboys beating the Panthers.
Okay.
I had the Panthers making the playoffs, but they ain't beating the Cowboys. So then that would be 2 versus 3 would be the 49ers versus the Lions. I'm picking the 49ers. Beat the Lions. No offense to the Lions. I don't think they're established enough to beat that defense
You ain't lying.
in that system. And then division will be Eagles-Cowboys.
Ooh.
Probably a very watched game,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm picking the Eagles over the Cowboys.
Okay.
So then it would be the Eagles versus the 49ers. A rematch.
Mm-hmm.
2 championship game rematches. Bengals, Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers. I didn't realize that till now, so this is probably going to be wrong. But I'm picking the Eagles to beat them again.
All right.
Fully healthy, Brock Purdy. They're still going to beat them. So then,
So Eagles are going back to the Super Bowl.
yes, to play the Bengals this year, not the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I said Super Bowl rematch. One of them can't make it, so I picked the Chiefs to lose. So your Super Bowl is where is it? Chiefs and 49ers?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you pick. Yeah, 49ers. So I got everything all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you got winning the Super Bowl?
Mm.
Back to back, or the 49ers finally going to win one? Well, not finally win one, but you know what I mean.
I will take the 49ers just to be different.
All right. And then I have the Eagles versus the Bengals. Joe Burrow finally win it. No, he can't. The Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
Nice.
As much as I said, they're probably going to regress this year because they couldn't sign everyone back. I still have them winning.
Well, they had good pieces, in place to replace them. So
But I think
it's not like they totally just going to, be
no. And I'm a believer in Jalen Hurts. I don't think that was just a 1-year thing. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. On paper, it's obvious Chiefs would probably be easy to pick. But I don't want to pick the Chiefs because that's boring. Even though I picked the Astros to win the World Series. And that's not looking too well right now because I think they're losing to Boston, which is not a good sign at all.
Yeah, how many weeks are left in the baseball playoffs?
In the season? It's got to be at least a month.
A month, okay.
Because they don't start – they usually play like 2 days in October.
Well, for you fans of Glenn and Wayne, when we had them on a few weeks ago, we're going to have them back when the baseball playoffs start. And they're going to be our baseball analyst here on the Fast Intentions podcast.
And Glenn probably don't want to talk about the Rangers now.
Glenn's going to take the American League, and Wayne's going to cover the National League for us.
I think the Rangers have lost 8 in a row.
Shout out to those guys. Now. Hopefully they're listening to the pod ever since they've been on, and can't wait to have them back. Got a lot of good feedback when we had those guys on. So
yeah, we did very good viewer numbers too when they were on. Yeah, we're going to have them on every week.
Yeah.
The Rangers finally won a game, but they're 1-9 in the last 10.
The Strangers?
So they're now in the second wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle won like 19 of 20, it fucking feels like. So now they've taken that division back. Boston's now 4.5 out of the wild card after being within 2 at one point. So, yeah. Do we need to fire up the rocket boosters? I don't have many nuggets.
You don't have many nuggets? Of course. There's always nuggets.
I don't have any nuggets. Well, actually, I guess I could give a nugget.
Look who John ran into at the baseball.
At the baseball? Where
he was at the Arizona Diamondbacks Reds game. And
oh, yeah. Don't they live there, don't they?
Yeah. So they met up. That was cool. Our friend John from the bus tour met up with some of the fans, some of our other friends from the Buckley tour, and sent us a picture. So it was nice that seeing some of the people from our bus trip still getting together after the fact. So that's nice. And the cool part is, you spend 2 weeks with these people and they all become really good friends. Don't talk to them as much as you would like to, but it's just nice to know they're still out there and some of them are still connecting. And whenever I see pictures like that, it just kind of brings a smile to my face. All real good people. So
I feel bad. I was half asleep most of those.
Yeah, I know.
Conversations.
But I had a good time. But yeah, I have a couple nuggets. So mission control. All right. This might be hard to believe. I had to do a double take when I read it, but Zach Greinke struck out his 1,023 different batter in the MLB during his career, and that makes him number 4 all time, behind Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan, and Randy Johnson. Oh, that means he passed Roger Clemens for 4th all time. And now he trails Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, and Greg Maddux. And at this time, he was only 26 behind Greg Maddux. So I think he has a good chance of passing and catching and passing Greg Maddux before he's over.
Who's number 1 and how many have they struck out?
Nolan Ryan, of course, and he had 1,182. And Randy Johnson had 1,123. I think those are a little too far out of reach. I think Zach could maybe play one more year, but he's just not a strikeout thrower anymore. He's more of a crafty veteran, as they call him.
Yeah, it kind of be after a while.
Yeah, so like I said, I think he definitely has a chance to pass Greg if he plays next year for sure. But it's just amazing to think that he's 4th all time. It just doesn't seem like he's that. When you think of Zach Greinke, you just don't think of a dominant pitcher, but he's had a long career. He's won a lot of games, won a couple World Series when he's with the Astros. So just congratulations to Zach. And, he's winding down his career in Kansas City with the Royals and helping them to establish a winning culture, which we've talked about a lot. He's helping the young pitchers and trying to help them, learn how to be better pitchers and better players. So props to Zach. I was really kind of caught off guard when I saw that. And like I said, I had to read it a couple times. So congratulations.
Winning culture may not be the correct words, but I know what you mean.
Establish a winning culture.
I was just being an asshole.
I know.
But hey, he's a Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
So he's been the top pitcher at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, he has been around for a while. But you wouldn't think he'd be like above Roger Clemens or something like that. I didn't have any nuggets.
Okay.
But I will shout out. Well, I don't want to shout him out, but There was a few deaths in the wrestling community. I don't know if you saw these.
I did see a few of those. Yes.
Terry Funk passed away.
I did see that.
One of the hardcore legend wrestlers
Mm-hmm.
who wrestled for more than 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bray Wyatt passed away at 36.
I did see that.
Current wrestler. He's been gone for a while. Kind of had some sort of injury they weren't specific on. But I saw a report that he was close to coming back. But he had COVID in it. He had lingering issues from when he got COVID, and he suffered a heart attack and passed away.
Well, I did see something. I don't remember exactly what the details of it was, but Roman Reigns had showed up somewhere where Bray Wyatt's family was and gave him a dozen roses or something. Made some kind of nice gesture towards the family.
Because I don't think he was at the SmackDown.
Yeah.
Because he's part-time. He's not a
Yeah.
full-time wrestler anymore, even though he's...
Yeah, but he showed up at this event for that specificality.
Yeah, so rest in peace, Bray Wyatt.
Yeah. But my last nugget is also an R.I.P. Famous TV game show host, Wheel of Fortune. Or not Wheel of Fortune.
Jeez. Hey, the price is right. Come on, man.
Sorry.
Pat Sajak.
I took too many Adam Sandler fists to the head. Barbara Barker passed away this year at the age of 99. And I was reading some of the comments and stuff, and the best tribute I saw was Bob Barker got as close to 100 as he could without going over. So I thought that was kind of apropos of the game show. So famous for beating up Adam Sandler in Happy Gilmore movies. And I know the day he retired, Adam Sandler showed up and read a poem for him. So, and he said in honor of Bob retiring from being a game show host, he got himself spayed. So if you know anything about Bob Barker, he always ended up in his broadcast by saying, get your pet spayed or neutered. So rest in peace, Bob Barker. He was like the quintessential game show host, from my childhood. And just seemed like he was every day, you could rely on Bob Barker being on the television, Price is Right.
Him and Vanna White up there.
Yep.
Spinning the wheel, putting the letters on the board.
Apparently Vanna White's tribute was she was actually a contestant on the Price is Right at one time in her career before she was on Wheel of Fortune. So,
oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of tie in there, Nathan. So look at you without even knowing it.
A game show runs in the family.
So, yeah.
Or it runs in the genes, I should say.
Nebraska starts this Thursday. NFL starts next Thursday with the Lions at the Chiefs. So, it's football season's fast approaching. And I know there's a few games this weekend. Notre Dame Navy and USC.
Notre Dame Navy we don't need to talk about.
So, yeah. It'll be exciting. It's all going to start here pretty soon. And you'll be in Chicago for the beginning of all of it. Yeah. So,
and I do want to send my condolences to Benson High School and their football program. After losing 92-0 to the Lincoln. My mom said, she works at, she said one of her kids goes to Benson. They didn't play the fourth quarter. They stopped because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Because Central was playing a Northwest, and they were beating them like 70-0. And that the Benson coach went to Central, Terrence Mackey, and they said 17 kids went with him to Central after they were like 3-6.
Yeah.
And then they left, and now poor Benson's got nothing over there.
Yeah, there's always been a few high schools that just kind of down and out. Them, Omaha South. Bryan, kind of getting a little bit better, and then the new high school at Buena Vista just established themselves. I see they were losing, but a couple upsets, which Bellevue West lost here locally, and my alma mater, Omaha Westside, put a thumping on Creighton Prep, which
always brings a smile to my face.
Mine too, but I wasn't expecting that big a blowout. Creighton Prep hasn't been down like that in a long time, so. We'll see what kind of coaching job they can do there at Prep and see if they can get them on the winning track or at least make them competitive because they weren't competitive at all this week.
Well, I don't have Cox Cable anymore, but the Friday night game is Central and Gretna.
Yeah.
That would be on TV. So I would like to watch it, but I don't have Cox.
I do kind of miss going to the Friday night games with you. We used to Nathan and I used to try to go catch a mirage of different high school games. We would try to go to different schools and catch different games when we could on Friday nights. That was fun. So
I'd prefer to go to Central, but they're not that good at football.
Yeah. So,
they were decent when I was there.
Yeah.
Except when we went in the 20-degree thing and then they lost 35-0.
So
the Middle North.
This might be one of our quicker shows we've had for a while. So
I know. You didn't even respond to my story. I was reminiscing with memories with you.
I know.
And then you just ignored me and talked about the time of the show.
I didn't.
But I love looking into your brown, dark eyes.
They're hypnotic, aren't they?
Yeah, it makes me fall
You will
asleep.
end this podcast right now. You will end this.
You will insert the fantasy team so I can look at my roster. My boy Tyreek Hill and Mark Andrews, who I probably took too early.
Playoff loss to me down right now.
Playoff loss.
Playoffs.